Labor is being urged to adopt the coalition's climate change targets and reach a sensible settlement on the issue.
The Shadow Resources Minister, Joel Fitzgibbon, will make the case during a speech in Sydney tonight. Live now to political reporter Trudy McIntosh in Canberra. And Trudy, the proposal from Mr Fitzgibbon seems the most likely reasonable option, but it will upset some within his party.
That's right. There's certainly division within Labor over what's the best approach going forward on climate after that result we saw at the federal election. Joel Fitzgibbon today making the case that Labor should be backing in the coalition's 28% emission reduction target by 2030. He argues that that would be a meaningful achievement and therefore allow Labor to take the government to task when it comes to the failure to reduce emissions year on year. He says that once you can prove that meeting this target wouldn't harm the economy and wouldn't affect blue-collar jobs, then Labor could look at taking a more ambitious approach when it comes to 2050. So this is what he's going to make this case tonight in a speech at the Sydney Institute. First reported today in The Australian, Mr Fitzgibbon's going to say, what would the outcome be if Labor offered a political and policy settlement to make 28% the target by 2030? The focus would then be all about actual outcomes and the government would finally be held to account and forced to act. So Joel Fitzgibbon there really laying out the markers for where he wants to see the party go when it comes to climate change. So many of his colleagues, though, reluctant to weigh into this debate publicly, not wanting to get into this contentious clash over climate policy. We heard from the Shadow Climate Change Minister yesterday, Mark Butler. He is reluctant to say how much Labor's policy, the 45% emission reduction target, cost the party when it came at the last election, pointing only to that internal party review that many politicians point to as what we'll see in terms of this climate policy. But as you say, Laura, it certainly doesn't look like we're taking that 45% emissions reduction target to the next election.